So hello my dear friends, welcome back. Welcome to your channel Cooking Astrology. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for subscribing my channel and liking my videos. Thanks a lot. So let's continue our journey, our series of planets through Navamsa Chart in Vedic Astrology. And today I'm going to start a new series of planets through the 5th house of the D-9 chart. And in this particular video, let's try to understand Saturn placement in the 5th house of your D-9 chart and what are going to be the results, whether positive and negatives, that are particularly associated with the Saturn placement. Now, before actually diving into the results which Saturn is capable of giving in the 5th house, let's try to understand what is 5th house of the D-9 chart. Now, in Vedic Astrology, both in D1 and the D-9 chart, 5th house is the most important house in Vedic Astrology. Because even in the D1 chart, 5th house represents your child, your childbirth, your bachelor's degree, your romantic capability. This is the house of entrepreneurship also. But when it actually funnel it down to the D9 chart, the planets that are posited in the 5th house, they are the representation of the skills which are present inside you. If the planets like malefic planets are present up there, it shows some technical skills are up there. Benefic planets also shows the skills with regards to communication, some advancement, some financial knowledge. So 5th house is the representation of the skill set. Also, if you want to understand whether you have the capacity to develop certain skills after marriage or not, 5th house is going to give you the answer of that question. Also, 5th house is the representation of level of patience which is present inside you. As a husband or as a wife, your capacity to understand or deal with the difficult situations of your marriage and the married life aspect is particularly governed by the 5th house. How patient you are while dealing with your family, how patient you are while you are dealing with your kids actually. So that shows the level of patience which is present inside you. Even 5th house is also going to show the gains which you are going to get in your life immediately after obtaining the childbirth actually. Or first of all, whether there are going to be some complications up there at the time of childbirth or not, that thing can clearly be visible from the combination of both D1 and D9 chart. If you pay attention towards the 5th house and D1, you can trace its results into the D9 chart also. Look into the 5th house of the D9 chart, and that also shows the kind of skills which are actually present inside your children as well, or what kind of natural, inherited or genetic skills which are actually programmed inside your children, they are represented by this 5th house. Even if any sort of benefic association or the planets that are actually in a very good dignity, like for example today in this case I'm talking about Saturn placement. Now, for example, if Saturn is very well posited in the 5th house, and if that Saturn is in combination of some Rahu and Ketu axis in the 5th and 11th in the D9 chart, this shows sudden rise in wealth or sudden gain of prosperity that is going to be happening immediately after marriage. Now, this part I have tested over more than 35 or 36 charts. The Rahu and Ketu axis in the 5th and 11th and combination of the Saturnian energy or malefic energies over the 5th and 11th, they show sudden rise of luck or sudden rise in your gains. Suppose right now you are having a very mundane lifestyle. You are just earning a very nominal amount of money. As soon as this event of marriage take place, and that even the sometime dasha, Vimshotri Mahadasha of the planets that are sitting in the 5th house of the D9 chart, they actually trigger, it shows the advancement into your life. So Saturn is that kind of a planet. First of all, malefic planets are not very patient up there. This is the main difficulty, because malefic planets tend to take burden more seriously. They are not like benefic planets where they might going to value the enjoyment part of the life also. When it comes to the malefic, this is going to be pure set of responsibility. So you folks are going to consider your event of marriage and the married life aspect more of a responsibility kind of a thing. Like, these are my certain roles and responsibilities which I need to fulfill, and these are the roles and responsibilities of my life partner which she need to fulfill. The problem will get more worse if both in husband and wife chart, both of your 5th house in the D9, both malefic planets are posited up there. Then it become very difficult for you to parallelly grow together actually. If one is having benefic or one is having malefic association, then it become quite easy, or it become quite compatible between both of you to actually grow together into your life. One more thing, Saturn is also going to make you very stubborn kind of a personality, extremely stubborn. And there is also going to be a lot of stereotype kind of a mentality which is particularly attached with this Saturn. And Saturn will at no cost will going to leave that stereotype kind of mentality, because Saturn also represents that old things, that structure, that rings formation of the Saturn. So it shows there are going to be certain restrictions, some sort of structure that you actually try to build inside your family, or because of your life partner influence directly into your life, you are actually having building that cage kind of a structure, or your partner is building that restrictions around you, like this is your domain where you need to operate actually. So there is actually going to have a lot of impact, or like direct impact or influence is actually going to be over very high if the Saturn is posited in the 5th house. As far as the skill set is concerned, Saturn is going to give you a lot of good driving skills also. Have you seen the individuals that actually drives the truck, 50 or maybe 30 tires of truck, big machineries actually. So they are going to have the Saturn placement in the 5th house, because they have the capacity to handle something big. So this is actually going to give you that kind of a skill. Saturn is also going to give you skills with regards to astrology actually. Here I'm not saying like if you are having Saturn in 5th house of D9 chart, you are definitely going to become astrologer. But depending upon certain other combination, yes, chances are present up there. And specifically if the Rahu and Ketu energy are perfectly aligned with the 5th and the 11th house axis, yes, this have the capacity to actually take you deeply dive into the occult sciences, even the astrology related studies. And one aspect of spiritualism is always going to be present in the Saturn in the 5th house. No matter whether you are married, no matter what is the age group, but this shows one deep root of your life is actually getting deeper into the path of spirituality. Even these people, after the initial failures in their love life actually, many have the capacity to move on. They easily jump from one relation to new very easily. But there are certain people it become very difficult for them to jump on or move on from one relation to another. And they hold certain grudges inside them. Now, if you are suffering, Saturn is in your 5th house. So these people, they tend to enjoy that part of sufferings as well. And that is also going to be a one process. The kind of sufferings, emotional sufferings, or the emotional damage that you have received because of this Saturn energy, you can take it as a positive force and you can transform your life, particularly into the positive side of the life. Or you can utilize that pain in your life to grow into the spiritual side of the life. Because Saturn is going to give you some indent actually, some ink spot over your heart in the 5th house. Ink spot simply mean some sort of past life bad experiences, maybe in the form of trauma, childhood trauma, some kind of traumatic your love life experiences, or even some kind of abusive experiences. Malefics in the 5th house also represent that thing, like some abuse have happened, and that is where these individuals, they themselves totally transform themselves into a totally different set of energy, and they tend to stay away from the rest of the world. And that is where the spiritual perspective of the Saturn energy in the 5th house is going to be very deeply connected. Although they are going to be actively involved in their doing 9 to 5 job as well, earning money, looking after the family, looking after the kids as well, but one portion of their life is actually going to be deeply in that spiritual aspect of the life. Apart from this, Saturn is also going to give you trading skills. Trading mean that share market and stock market. If you want to become a trader, and if you are having the Saturn energy in the 5th house, yes, you have the capacity to become a trader. because Saturn have the capacity to look into the analytical side of the life. This is a highly practical planet. Keep this thing in your mind. Saturn is not like benefic planets where they tend to procrastinate, or they are getting more hopeful, or that are just going with the intuitive side of the life. Saturn is that kind of energy that is going to go more with the practical side of the life. So understanding the complexities of the graphs, or understanding what is happening up there, Saturn have the capacity to give you the knowledge of all such kind of things into your life. So that is going to be one of the main positive side of this Saturn placement in the 5th house. Even if, for example, Saturn's dignity is very weak, for example, it's debilitated. Now there are actually going to be then severe amount of karmas connected with this Saturn energy. Now when I use the word karma here, in order to trace what are the karmic connections that debilitation of Saturn is actually going to bring into my life, you need to go back into the D-9 chart actually. And then you need to look at this sign of Capricorn and the sign of Aquarius. Look where out of all the 12 houses in Vedic astrology, look where these two zodiac signs are actually posited. The energy of these two houses that are actually getting destroyed in the 5th house. It means the significance of these houses are somewhat getting burnt. For example, Saturn is gaining control over the 4th and 5th house. You are Libra ascendant in the D-9 chart. 4th house is the house of your mother, and 5th house is the house of your children actually. Now both of these significance related to mother and children, they are actually getting somewhat burnt in the sign of Aries, because debilitation of Saturn is going to go into the sign of Aries. It becomes very difficult to handle the energy of Saturn whenever it is going into the fire zodiac signs. Not necessarily Aries, it may be Leo or Sagittarius also. Even in the air zodiac signs of the sign of Aquarius also, sign of Gemini also, Saturn have the capacity to give lot of health complications actually. And I sincerely advise all of you watching this video, you need to worship your body like a god actually if you are having Saturn in the 5th house. Because over the passage of time, Saturn have the capacity to give certain chronic illnesses inside you. And in the initial stages of your life, it becomes very difficult for you to detect these part, like whether these illnesses are present in my life or not. Because 4th house of the D-9 chart is the representation of your health also, health perspective. Now any planet that is in the 5th house, it shows whether you are gaining from the 4th house, whether your health is going to be optimal or whether your health is degrading. Now if the dignity of planet is very weak, it means health aspect is somewhat degrading in the chart. It may be because of your improper food diets, improper eating habits, or maybe because your partner is not willing to provide you a good food. So that might going to be reason. But here you need to be extra cautious when it comes to the health aspect. So I hope you have gained some deep insights with regards to Saturn energy in the 5th house. If you are having any queries, any consultations with regards to your planetary placement, any other marriage, career, spiritual consultation, do let me know. I will try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. You can contact me at my email ID, and feel free to subscribe my channel below. And I would like to thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart for actually supporting my work, giving me this opportunity, this platform to share the wonderful knowledge of Vedic astrology with you. Till then, please take care of yourself, and Hare Krishna.